Following the guilty verdict, a big question on the minds of many now: what exactly happens next for the former president?
Yeah, joining us now is 3 News political analyst Dr. Bill Chris to weigh in on the day's event. First of all, thank you for being with us, Dr. Chris.
My pleasure.
We know that this is a case in New York. It was tried in a New York courtroom, tried by a district court judge from New York, and decided by a jury in New York. What now for Trump, and what is the range of punishment that we can expect?
Well, he was convicted on 34 counts, and he's now a convicted felon, and each one of those counts carries a maximum sentence of 4 years in prison. So technically, that could be 4 times 34, which is 100. That's not going to happen.
Right.
In any sentencing in a crime like nonviolent crime like this is probably going to run concurrently. The maximum he's probably going to get is 4 years, but he probably won't get that. He'll probably, because he's a nonviolent offender, and because the other factors involved in this case, it probably will be probation. But what happens in cases like all criminal cases is there's a pre-sentencing report that's done that's given to the judge. And one important factor is whether the defendant accepts responsibility and expresses remorse, something that we know Trump is not going to do. And so could he get some jail time? Maybe 30 days in the county pokey or something. I don't, it's hard to say.
Okay, and now looking ahead to November and thinking about voters, especially those who are undecided, will this make a difference?
Well, I think it makes a difference at the margins. I think that there are some undecided voters who are actually going to vote who will take into account the fact that they just can't bring themselves to vote for a convicted felon for president. Nobody's ever had to make that choice before, except in 1912, I think, Eugene Debs, the communist candidate for president, had already been convicted of a crime.
Well, now to the future. How do you think this moment in American history will be viewed?
Well, taking a South Texas view of this, Rudy, what keeps resonating in my mind is the Spanish expression sin vergüenza, without shame. We've reached an era of American history where, unlike Watergate, where Nixon was shamed into resigning by members of his own party, where Nixon felt that if people thought he was a crook, and he was determined he was a crook, he really couldn't go on. We now live in a society where you actually have a former president who, during the first campaign, said, I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and nothing will happen. Nobody will do anything about it. We're in for a really nasty election on November the 5th, between now and November 5th.
That puts things into perspective. Dr. Bill Chris, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate you, and we will have more chats as we inch closer to November and certainly on Election Day. Dr. Chris, thank you. And tonight